Hey, Scott Russell, a quick thought on CBDCs. Here in Australia, they've run a trial, which I'll show the video of.
Looks like an ordinary debit card, but this goes beyond any technology ever seen in Australia. A first of its kind central bank digital currency, or EAUD, smart card.
Most people probably think of things like Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency, but this is a very different proposition that is actually tied to the Australian dollar and used in the same way that cash can be used.
Collaborating with the Reserve Bank, 10 Southern Cross University students putting the smart cards to the test, purchasing goods and services offline at an on-campus vendors.
And I was talking to someone recently about a possible scenario. It may not happen this way, but it is pretty conceivable. So they introduced this CBDC card and they run it parallel to currency. So you have the two of them that are there. So people are then accepting of it. It's like having, you'll have a $10 note, a $20 note like we do. And the CBDC card is actually pegged to the currency, the regular currency. But our regular currency has so much debt that part of the reason why they're bringing in the CBDC, besides the totalitarian control that they're going to bring with that, is, I think, to do something with the debt. And so the thought is that what they're going to do is run the two parallel. People get accustomed to the card, and then what they do is they just keep doing what they're doing here in Australia. They're taking cash out of circulation, so it's harder to find. The banks won't accept cash. A lot of the shops are starting to not accept cash. So they're preparing it so people will just take the card. It'll be easier. So, who needs the cash anyway? Then what they'll do is ultimately the cash will just drop off. And what they could do then is, because that card has to be pegged to something, they may peg it to, even if cash remains, they'll leave the cash there, but it'll just be harder to find, harder to use. Then they take the card and they move it to and peg it to something like BRICS or some international. I think the IMF has their own coin. I forget what they call it now. Destroy you coin. But so they'll take the card, then ultimately, once people are used to using it more, peg it to this new card, the new coin that the IMF has, and then cash, they let it just go into a free fall of inflation. So like we said then, you want to buy a loaf of bread with your cash, it'll cost you $100. But if you buy it with your CBDC card, it'll, cost you $1 or 50 cents or whatever. So I think that's the progression, because there could be something that happens where overnight, because that's happened in the past, Cruzeiro in Brazil, they brought the real in. Overnight, the currency collapses. They could do that. But it's just another possible scenario that I'm putting out there now, just to say they could run them parallel, get people used to it, then decouple them, that cash be inflated and the card stay stable. What do you think? How do you think they're going to do it? We know they're doing it, and they're doing it globally. So if it hasn't in your country yet, visibly, it will be. And I think Australia is the testing ground for a lot of this, and we're ahead of the curve. What are your thoughts? And let me know how you think it's going to go down.